So we're here tonight with Rob Hopkins. We're here at the unleashing of the Brixton Pound. Very exciting.
Indeed.
But also the launch of your book today, I believe.
It is. It's the day. Today is the day. Da-da-da-da.
Just happen to have a copy of local food.
I always have one in my pocket. You never know.
It's so handy in pocket size as well.
I have very big pockets.
Very good.
It's a book that's it's the first in a series of books we're going to be doing, which are sort of transition guides to different things. So energy, food. There's going to be one about local currency, actually, which will be coming out quite soon after this. There's one on about working with your local councils. There'll be one on building, one on transition in cities. So it's trying to basically distill from across the movement what people are learning. Because one of the things that we've found that's always really, really important is that transition is an iterative process, which is about trying to put ideas out there. This feedback comes back, this works, this doesn't work, and then that shifts the model and changes the model. So what's brilliant about this book is that it's gone out, that Tamzin did a survey and interviews across Transition Network of all the different transition groups. What food projects are they doing? What have they got on the go? What have they learned? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What are their tips? And then that's all distilled together in the book. So it's really valuable kind of experience.
I mean, it really does feel like a how-to guide.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted something as well, and we were really clear that also we didn't want something because there's a huge network of people doing local food for ages.
Yes.
And the last thing we wanted was a book that sort of came along and said, actually, Transition knows how to do local food, you know. So although there are a lot of the case studies in there are transition initiatives, there's lots of other ones as well. And actually, as much as anything, I think the book's role for transition groups is to signpost them to where they can learn from people who've been doing this for years, to avoid the reinventing of wheels in that sense.
Oh, that makes absolute sense. So now on a more sort of micro level, tell me about your favourite kind of food initiatives.
One of my favourites is that we have in Totnes is the Garden Share scheme, which is about, it's like a dating agency really, that matches together people with gardens that they're too elderly or too busy to use, to people who don't have a garden who want to garden.
Fantastic.
And it's a very simple scheme to manage. You know, you've got a huge backlog for waiting lists and all these back gardens no one's using. It's a really good way of building social capital, bringing people together. And so now in Totnes we've got 50 families growing food who weren't able to do so before. And it takes about an hour a week to manage. So that's a really nice one. I'm a big fan of nut trees.
I'm aware of that.
I think
I've even read your top 10 list of nut trees.
Yeah, my top 10 nut trees. That's how sad I am. No. And because you can grow as much protein and carbohydrate with walnuts and sweet chestnuts as you can with organically grown wheat, and why they aren't part of our urban fabric is a mystery. And with walnuts, sweet chestnuts, and a whole range of other more obscure nuts that most people have never heard of, there's a huge potential there. So in Totnes we have something called Totnes, the nut tree capital of Britain, where we're planting nut trees through the fabric of the town, which is one of my favourite projects.
And is the idea to then sort of start harvesting food as a town?
Well, I suppose the idea is, I mean, if we had enough trees in place for that to be the case, that would be fantastic. I think initially it's just that people themselves can gather them as they go home. I don't think it's anything. They're planted and made available for people to take as they see fit, I suppose.
But I mean, this book moves on to sort of other initiatives like co-ops and so forth, doesn't it?
It covers as broad a range as we could find of initiatives that basically, in most transition initiatives, food is the first thing that gets going. The groups come together. Food is where there's the low-hanging fruit, if you'll pardon the pun, of projects that you can get started sooner rather than later. So so this book was really to give them a guide to what they could do, whether they're setting up urban food growing projects, market gardens, community gardens, cooperatives, and then it also goes in school projects and into the more sort of cutting edge stuff that Transition Network's been involved in around looking at mapping projects and food security mapping, and to what degree you can use maps for that kind of stuff. So our hope is that it's really a practical guide you can just pick up, get on with it. You can avoid a whole load of wheel reinvention. You can just draw the sort of distilled experience and you can just get on with it. And that's really what we need, I think.
It's a must-have book. Let's have a look at it again. Called Local Food.
Fantastic.
Tamzin, Pinkerton and Rob Hopkins.
Work of genius.
That's right.
Green
books.
Nobel Prize.
You're hoping for the Nobel Prize?
Booker Prize, whatever. We'll take anything. We're not fussy. You can never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.